Emotionally, I was just I was gone. I didn't have feelings. I didn't feel
Yeah.
anything for anyone anymore at that point in time. If I would hear of other people dying and things like that happening, I would not feel anything. But it was because of the God, and say, Lord, I need to release these people out of my heart. I
Yeah.
need to forgive them because they are holding my destiny.
Welcome to another episode of Breakthrough Moments with Sandy, the place where people share the real stories behind their biggest breakthrough. Every episode is a heart to heart about life, business, faith, grief, healing, and everything else in between. Nothing polished, nothing perfect, just honest moments that shape who we are today. I'm your host, Sandy Chinogure, and I've created a space where women feel seen, supported, and inspired to rise again. So grab yourself a cup of tea, cup of coffee, settle in, and let's dive into today's conversation. Today's guest is someone who carries her presence with so much grace and quiet strength. I'm excited to welcome Adelaide Adeyemi, the heart behind renewed resilience coaching. Adelaide's journey is powerful. She knows how it feels to lose confidence, and she knows how it feels to rise up again and to lean on the Most High for strength. Today, she's going to share her lessons with us, what she has learned, and how she has managed to overcome her lack of confidence. So let's welcome Adelaide to today's conversation. Welcome, Adelaide. It's great having you
Thank
today.
Thank you so much, Sandy. It's really lovely to be here today. I take it as an honor. So thank you so much for inviting me to be a guest on your show today. I'm really, really humbled.
Thank you so much for joining us. So before we start and before we dig deep into this conversation, tell me what led you to be who you are today. What led you to be the Adelaide Adeyemi that we know today? Can you share a brief about yourself?
Certainly. So my journey of where I am today was not a straightforward one, not an easy one. It's not something I would say it was a walk in the park. That's what I would say. It was not a walk in the park. It wasn't easy. I didn't start off as a therapist or even an author or a confidence coach at all. No, that was not me. I was a young lady growing up, and there was a time I just didn't believe in myself because of the things that were actually going through in my life, happening in my life. So many things were happening. I felt that I was invisible. I lost my confidence along the way. I had so much low self-esteem, and because of these unhealed wounds that were hanging inside of me because of heartbreaks, disappointments in life, and those seasons of just feeling like I had been overlooked. So it was a hard season, and it took the grace of God and it took the courage in me to fight it back to become who I am today. But I'll walk you a bit through a bit of the transformation journey in how I became who I am today. Um, there was a season where I think that was around 2017, 18. I totally lost it. I totally lost my confidence. I didn't want to see people. I felt like, when you feel like you're in a dark place, you feel like you are just by yourself. There's no one to talk to, and you feel like no one understands you. No one understands what you're going through. You just feel like everyone is judging you because of your journey. I'd gone through a heartbreak from a relationship I was in. Was really, really disappointed. I was really disappointed. It really broke me, and that relationship just left me in that space where it was all dark. I didn't understand myself at all. and I was afraid of going out. I was afraid of going for, I didn't work for a few months actually because I didn't have the courage. I didn't have that confidence to go to work. I was staying with my sister. And I'm sure even herself, she didn't understand what was going on. I would cry most of the times. I lost myself. I totally lost myself. But then one day it dawned on me when I was just sitting and lying on my bed, and I was thinking of the old me when I was a bit younger, the goals that I had for my life, what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be, the family I wanted to build when I grow up, and all that. It all
Yeah.
started coming back to me. And at that moment, I would say it was the Spirit of God that spoke to me on that day, because I just kept hearing, I needed to forgive. I needed to forgive.
Yeah.
I think I was holding on to so much unforgiveness in me that it was actually breaking me. I didn't realize it was breaking me. It was holding me back. Instead of going forward, I was just stuck in that place, not being able to move forward because of that unforgiveness that was so much in me, the hardness of heart that had grown inside of me. I needed to forgive. And I was thinking, why do I keep hearing this? When I opened the word of God, it was all about forgiveness. And then at that moment, I remember I started praying, and I had a group of ladies. I started a group with some ladies. We started praying, who were also facing similar challenges. We started praying. That's when the Today Adelaide was actually born, because that's when I started building myself. I found myself mentors. I found myself counselors who started counseling me. And that journey was really amazing, because I discovered so much about myself that I didn't know even back then. They walked me step by step there. And at that moment, when I decided, when I made that decision that I needed a change, I remember I went back to university. I finished my business degree. I studied Christian therapy. I finished my certification. I'm a certified Christian therapist. Then I went into trauma coaching, because when I was doing Christian therapy, I actually specialized in trauma. So I then went into trauma coaching and confidence coaching. That's how this Adelaide was born. And it took a long time. I will not say it was a walk in the park, like I said before. It took a very long time, years. So everyone's journey, I would say, is also different. So my journey took time. Someone's journey might be shorter, someone's journey might be even be longer. It just depends on a person. But this is what made me who I am. I had to walk every step. Not the easiest journey, I would tell you, because there are days where you feel like you've just gone 10 steps back. You feel like you're healing, and then the next thing, something happens, it takes you back way back. And it's just that roller coaster of emotions when you are going through this journey. So it's not an easy one, but with resilience, I am here today. With courage, I'm here today. With the help of God, I am actually here today. And it all started with me acknowledging that I needed a change in my life. I needed healing, realizing I needed to go and forgive the people that had hurt me, the people that had done me wrong in my life. That's how Adelaide was born.
Wow. Wow. That is deep. That is absolutely deep. You mentioned that it felt the whole process, the healing process, felt like you've taken 10 steps back, 10 steps
Yeah.
forward. Can you highlight on exactly how that feels? Can you relate this to someone who's going through grief? Like, is it something that you can relate to the loss of a loved one, whereby you think you've healed and then you find yourself 10 steps back? Can you like paint a picture of how that felt like? The 10 steps back,
Yeah,
10 steps forward.
exactly. Yeah, I'll paint a picture because I've been through that myself. Grief is when I lost my mom, and grief is one of the most painful things that one can ever go through. And you feel, for me, I'll give an example of myself. What happened to me? I lost my mom. I was in the UK. My mom was in Zimbabwe, and I couldn't travel for her funeral. It was months later, I then had to travel because I couldn't sleep for months. I could not sleep. I was emotionally, I was just I was gone. I didn't have feelings. It's like love had been taken out of me. I didn't feel
Yeah.
anything for anyone anymore at that point in time. If I would hear of other people dying and things like that happening, I would not feel anything. But it was because of the pain that was so deep in me of losing the one thing that I loved the most, which was my mom. It took time. I had to travel to Zimbabwe to get closure. And I think that was the
Yeah.
best decision I ever made, because when I traveled and I saw and actually believed and saw that she's actually laying to rest, saw where she was laid to rest, that really helped me, because I was able to say the things I needed to say there at the graveside. I remember I was with my dad that day, and I was just
Mm.
there crying. But it really helped me, because when I then came back, it was now a process of accepting what I had seen, that she's no longer there. The house that
Yeah.
we grew up in, she was no longer there, and I know she's no longer there. I think the first time it was denial. I was living in denial, like, nah,
Yeah.
nah, that line, she's still there. I was living in, and a lot of people who are going through grief, that's the first thing that happens. You are in denial that the person has gone. So that process can be very painful, because you want to know, you want to accept, but you're still in
Yeah.
denial. No, they're really gone. You find yourself lifting your phone at some point, say, looking for the phone number, and you remember, oh no, they won't be able to respond. That was happening to me, because I remember my
Wow.
mom had been sick for a long time. So I used to call her every day on video call. And now thinking, I would hold my phone and think, oh, I can't call her. She's not there. But in my head, I'm still thinking she's there. So that denial stage happens to nearly a lot of people who have lost their loved ones. And it's a process. We all need closure. I had to find closure by going to see where she was buried. And then I had to come back and start walking
Mm-hmm.
accepting the acceptance process, accepting that, listen, she is gone. And I
Yeah.
had to actually forgive. It sounds funny when I tell people that you need to forgive, because at times we start blaming, like, mom, but why did you leave me?
Mm.
The moment you say that is the
Mm.
moment you realize you actually need to forgive them. It was not
Wow.
their fault, it was their time. The Lord was calling them home. But you have to forgive them. You have to forgive
Yeah.
God. You have to forgive God, because we start blaming God. Why God? Why me? Why that? Forgive God. Once you start doing those things and forgive yourself, it is not your fault the person has left. It's not your
Yeah.
fault. So you need to
Yeah.
forgive yourself. So it's those three people. Forgive the person that has left. Forgive God. Forgive yourself.
Mm.
Then your journey of healing is a step. And I cannot say, when it comes to grief, I don't know whether one can completely say I have healed, but you find
Yeah.
ways of coping. You find ways
Yeah.
of coping. When you ask me that, have I totally healed from the loss of my mother? The honest answer is no. But I have
Mm.
found ways of coping because there are situations that happen in my life. Like recently, I had my wedding, and it all
Yeah.
came back like, I wish my mom was there. You
Oh,
understand?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't
Definitely.
really heal.
Yeah.
To find ways of coping and actually acknowledging that, listen, she is no longer here with me, or
Yeah.
whoever is no longer here with me. Is not find
Yeah.
those coping mechanisms. Find how you can heal gradually. It can take years. I've seen people, I've spoken to people that have told me
Mm.
that they've not healed. They lost their parents 30, 40 years ago. And yet today
Wow.
they still feel the void. They still feel the pain. So grief is
Yeah.
one of those difficult. that I would say. One, to say it will totally heal. I don't know. Everybody is different. That's the thing about healing.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Yeah.
journey is personal. It's different. So my journey is different from this one's journey, different from Jane's journey, different from John's journey. All our journeys are different. So you have to focus on your journey. How are you going to manage your own healing journey? Don't look at the next part, because if you do that,
Yeah.
you might not actually find healing because you're comparing. Never compare. So that was the one thing with me. So that's one advice I would give to the person who is healing from grief, that you actually need to go through the denial stage. It's a process. You
Mm.
would go through it. Got denial. You have to find closure, accept it, forgive, and then start
Yeah.
finding ways of living without that. When we say living, finding ways of living, we are not saying you are never going to acknowledge the person. You will always, that person will always hold a special part in you, but you need
Yeah.
to find ways of living without them and happy.
That's right. That's right. And I'm so sorry for the loss of your mom. I know it's when did that happen? How many
Yeah.
years ago? You said you
That
were
was in
19 years at that time?
2000. No, that was 2014. She passed
Oh,
on.
right. Okay. I'm
Yeah,
so sorry about that. I'm so
that's all
sorry.
right.
I had a conversation with one of my guests. That was last week ago. And she was like sharing with me about grief, how she lost her mom and everything. There's something that she mentioned that I also want to ask you if it's something that was relatable for you. Was there any
Mm,
point whereby you felt, how can I put this across? The feeling of having to resent or a bit of jealousy when you see other people who still have their mothers around. How did that make you feel just after the time you lost your mom? When you have to see other people embracing their mothers and, they sharing those special moments with their moms and you didn't have that opportunity anymore. How did you feel just
yeah.
like straight after the time that you lost your mom?
Yeah. For me, I wouldn't say jealousy, but obviously you always wish like, ah, I wish my mom was still around, you know. I wish she was here. I would not say I felt jealous. No, I didn't, because the one thing I believe and understand is I have to be happy for the next person. You know, I'll be happy that their parent is still there. But for me, I'll be like, "Ah, I wish, it will always come. You wish
Yeah.
that they were there. But for jealous, it can happen. It can happen. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not. That's why I said everyone's journey is different, and how we take things is different. um, Me having an understanding of being a Christian makes me understand more about grief. And the way I grew up, I understand. I do not take it as my mom has. I'll never see my mom again. I look at her, she's sleeping, and we'll
Mm-hmm.
meet when Jesus comes again. So that's my hope. So when I see someone with their parents, I even have to advise people like, listen, do the most for your parent while she's still here, because when they are
Yeah.
gone you can't do anything. So I don't really feel jealousy or anything. I am happy for them because they're still there. They still have an opportunity to do things. If
Mm.
they are, if some people are not in cool books, you still have an opportunity to forgive and live a happy life with your family. So I wouldn't say I don't see the point of being jealous, but I would say everyone's journey and how we cope is different.
It's different.
Yeah, we
All
are all
right.
different.
I'm just gonna, sorry, you continue?
Yeah, no, I was just saying we are all different, so we cope in different ways. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm just going to take you and my audiences back a little bit. At the beginning, you mentioned your story. There was a past relationship and everything didn't go according to plan. And now we thank God because you're in a
Mm.
better place, much happier. It made a path for you. You mentioned something, and that was you discovered that journey made you discover about yourself. Can you highlight to us what it is that you discovered about yourself through that particular journey?
Okay. So through that journey, I actually realized I had so much potential in me. so much I had been holding back because of fear. I had so much I had been holding back because I had lost my confidence, my self esteem. I felt like I'm always overlooked and I was not going for my goals. Because at that moment in time, I took it as my waiting season, my preparation season, my season to prepare myself if God was going to bless me with love again,
Yeah.
if God was going to bless me with a marriage, right? So I took it as a time to prepare myself. And when I say it, I took it as I told you, I mentioned I went back to university, and
Yeah.
I studied my business degree. I finished my business degree, and I always wanted to work in the corporate world. And at that time, I started applying because I'd been working as a care assistant before in the health sector. And then when I went for my degree, and then after that, I started applying. I got a job. I started working as a business analyst, and then
Oh,
I moved on. Yeah, and then I moved on because I always wanted to be in projects. So I decided to go
yeah.
for a more project management role, which I then did.
Yeah.
So these are things I started discovering about me, and
Yeah.
I even started my own business, started a business in event planning as well in that time. So these are all gifts that, that started coming up. And because I had that time to prepare myself, I started my coaching business as well. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the things I started discovering about myself. I had the time to prepare myself. I fixed my relationship with God. I fixed myself, my prayer life. I fixed everything about me. I was trying to fix things that I knew I needed fixing. And they made me a better person to make me the woman I am today. That's what I'm saying. It's not an easy road, one step at a
Yeah.
time. But I did that and I found the better version of me through that process.
I'm absolutely proud of you, Adelaide, and the fact that you were able to discover yourself, because some people don't really get the opportunity to discover themselves. Some people find themselves broken beyond repair, and we are not supposed to be broken beyond repair. So, listening to you, I'm realizing and learning that every heartbreak, every pain is just a tool. It's just something that you should use to for your journey, for your next comeback. That should be a tool. It shouldn't be something that breaks you. Can you share with my audience what forgiveness looks like? Because it might sound easier said than done. How did you embark on this journey of forgiveness? How were you able to forgive?
Yeah, forgiveness is very spiritual, and it's something that it's not an easy thing to do. But how I managed to forgive was I had to pray a lot. I had to go to my prayer altar and actually pray. I was very intentional about it. You have to be intentional when you want to forgive. I had the people, the names of the people I needed to forgive. I had to take them to God and say, Lord, I need to release these people out of my heart. I
Yeah,
need to forgive them because they are holding my destiny.
yeah,
You have to speak to God. When you speak to God, speak to Him like you're speaking to your Father. That's how I was speaking to God. And I had to search the
hmm,
scriptures about forgiveness. I did that a lot. I was reading a lot of the word, especially on forgiveness. I bought books on forgiveness. I started, that's it. It's very spiritual and it takes
yeah,
time. It depends on an individual. I had to look and say, okay, this person that had me this way. And
mm,
it's a process. Don't think it will happen in 1 day, 2 days. It's a process. It's a process. So
yeah,
when you feel like, oh, you're forgiven, then you realize you haven't, don't be hard on yourself. That's what I was doing to myself. I wasn't being hard on myself, but it's something I was intentional, like, Lord, I need to forgive. But forgiveness is very necessary when you want to heal in the healing journey. It's very necessary and it is very spiritual. You really need to seek God. You really need to go to God's face and say, Lord, I need to forgive. I need to forgive. Read the word. get books on forgiveness, read them,
Mm.
and be intentional. Know the people you want to forgive.
Yeah.
Know the people you want to forgive and take them to God. Say, Lord, I need to forgive. Yes, they hurt me, but I need to forgive them. Not for them, but for me. I had to forgive for me because they were holding my destiny. They were holding my progress. I couldn't move because I
Yeah.
was holding on to the pain. I wasn't moving
Yeah.
on. I was constantly in battle. Just think the moment I would see the name or something that triggers that memory, it would just take me back. So it was like you're in a bondage. You want to be released and be freed from it.
Absolutely. That is bondage for sure. And I'm sure most people don't realize that when you are holding or harboring unforgiveness, you are the one in bondage. You are the one in prison, but you're not aware of it. And there are some things which come about as a result of that. We talk of illnesses, high blood pressure,
Yeah.
all those kind of things. And people are not
Mm,
really aware that, you know what, forgiveness is not about the other person, it's about you. So,
mm.
whilst you were going through all these challenges, all these things that you were dealing with in that time frame of your life, did you have anything else added on top of this in terms of like an illness or stress or anything as a result of the things that you had to deal with at that time?
Um, in terms of things, no illness. I thank God for that because most people would then have things like high blood pressure, and they'll start going through a depression and all that. Um, I didn't have any of those symptoms, but I know I became pre-diabetic. I don't know whether it's because of the junk food, a lot of junk food I was
Yeah.
eating. I just didn't care because when you're stressed and you're just thinking, all you want to do is just anything you see, you pop in your mouth. I became pre-diabetic, but then the moment I went and got tested, I was very conscious of I'm very conscious of my health. I was like, no, I need to change this. So that's why it was so important that I have to let go of some of these things because imagine because I started thinking of my mom. My mom was diabetic. And
Yeah.
I've seen, and I've worked with patients that are diabetic. You see what they go through. I told
Mm.
myself I didn't want that. So I had to change my lifestyle as well through that process. But a lot of people will suffer depression, high blood pressure,
Yeah.
and anxiety attacks, all these things. They start coming up because of trauma, of
Yeah.
the pain that one will be going through. But I would say I would say I was blessed because I didn't get any of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a blessing for sure. And at this time, obviously, your mom, who was your pillar, who was your everything, was no longer in the picture. How did
Mm.
you manage to go through all this? And did you have a support system to help you, like, go through this whole process?
Yes, I
Was it
had a
one person? Was it one person, or it was a group of individuals, different individuals that you had who were supporting you during this time?
so I like I said, I think I mentioned it initially, like when I had an encounter with God and He said I needed to forgive. I started a group at that
Yeah.
time. It was a women's
Yeah.
group. We were
Yeah.
called Women of Triumph, and we would pray together. The funny thing
Mhm.
is, I was the one being the pillar to everyone, even though I was going through the pain. But I was
Wow.
actually the
Yeah.
one holding everyone's hand with my own pain. But then I
Wow.
discovered that I also needed a support system. I needed a support system myself because, yes, I'm helping other people. They're overcoming what they're overcoming. Because naturally, I'm just a caring person. I then
Yeah.
found myself mentored. So I didn't have one mentor. I had several mothers from who were my mentors. They held my hand. Most of them are pastors, women of God, and they would hold my hand. I would have mentorship classes with them. They helped me. They helped me grow to become a strong woman that I am today. So they kind of fill that void of not having a mother around, because they were there to
Yeah.
comfort me, to talk to me, to say it is going to be okay. You'll be fine. They were
Yeah.
there. So a support system for me at
Mm-hmm.
that time was really necessary, and I really thank God for that support system, because even up to now they're still around. These are the
Mm-hmm.
people that are around me. These are the people that when I need advice, I still go back to them. They've become like,
Yeah.
I call them my midwives. They've become
Wow.
like my mid when I need somebody to speak to. Now that I've started my coaching business, I have my coaching business. I go back to them and I get wisdom from them. But they were there to hold my hand in that process of healing. So we all need that. I have my pastors as well. We all need that. Everybody needs a support system. You need a counselor. I found myself a counselor. I had myself a counselor who was counseling me. So everyone, you need it. You need to invest. I know that a lot of people, especially in our community, they don't like
Mm-hmm.
paying, but you know what? When you invest in your life, that's the best thing you can do. I didn't have money, but I invested in myself. Because if I didn't invest that money, I would have still been holding it, but I would still be broken. That money might
Mm.
not mean anything. So I decided to invest in my healing, in myself, to better me. I had to. Some of these services are not free. Counseling, you have to
Mm-hmm.
pay. I had to pay. Mentorship, some of the
Absolutely.
mentors, you pay them. Yeah, you pay some of the mentors. I was paying the mentors. But you need, these are people you need, because when you do that, you know they're genuinely holding your hand and making you grow. So that's what I did. I had that community around me, which I still have, because, like I said, healing is an everyday thing. All of us need healing in one way or the other. You need a support system in your life.
Oh, the part that really stood out for me is when you said, if I had not chosen to invest, I would still be broken. And that is powerful. That is food for thought for anyone who's watching this. That if you choose not to invest, you'll stay broken. And also, you mentioned that you created the group, and at that time, you had your own things you were dealing with, but you still showed up and prayed for other people. So, in short, what you simply did was you invested what you wanted to happen to other people by, or what you wanted for yourself by investing prayer and time for other people, you know. And it just reminded me, it completely reminded me of Job, the story of Job, when he was going through the most, like, we don't even know where to start or where to end with what Job went through, but he
Yeah,
took the time to pray for his friends, and when he prayed for his friends, things started
yeah,
turning around. So in
yeah,
short, I think without you even knowing that you were investing in other people at that time, that could have been the beginning of the turnaround in your life.
mm, mm.
What advice would you give someone, Adelaide, who regarding to counseling? Because you mentioned about counseling, and we know that there are some people who still disregard counseling up to this day. What is
Yeah.
your advice?
I'd say counseling is really good. Um, it's good to invest. Like I said, I had to invest in my life, in my own healing. Counseling is something that is important, and a lot of people think it's not important. You just feel like, I'm wasting money. It's not a waste of money. Counseling is the best thing you can ever do for yourself, especially when you know you need healing. When you actually know you need healing, that's when you will take that step, like, no, I need therapy. I need to find myself a coach. I need to find myself a counselor. I need somebody to hold my hand, because we are not islands. On your own, you become invisible. When you're in isolation, you will not grow, you will not heal. But when you when you have somebody who's been there, or who has trained, or who has walked that journey. It can be a coach, they've walked that journey and they are working with you. They are actually giving you guides and steps that you yourself don't know. So it's important. Counseling, everybody needs somebody. We all need, it can be business. It's not just about healing. It can be in your business, it can be
Mhm.
in your sport. Anything that you do in your life, you need a coach, you need a counselor, you need somebody to walk with you, because alone, how do you grow? How do you grow? And now you want to heal from a pain that you yourself don't understand why it's there. You need somebody to hold you and give you guides, practical steps on how you are going to walk through it. So counseling is very important. But I always say, when you, it only happens when you actually realize you need healing. A lot of
Yeah.
people live in denial. They'll keep saying, I have trauma, but they're still in
Mm.
denial. They don't need it. But when you actually know that I need a change in my life, you will know that you will need to invest. You will find ways to invest in your life. You will find somebody to hold your hand and say, listen, let me hold your hand and walk with you. So counseling is very important. If you want to heal, if you want to achieve your goal of healing and succeeding in your life, achieve your vision, counseling is the best, and coaching is the best. I went through it, so I would testify that it was the best decision I ever made.
Mm. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So, how were you able to find a counselor? Did you have to work with someone you knew already, or were there places that you had to search? This is for if there's people in my audience that would want to know how they can, get counseling and everything.
Yeah. So with me, for me, it was, I would say that was just God ordained, to be honest.
Mm.
I met people who introduced me to people. And like my counselor was in Nigeria. I met her through a mutual friend who she was training to become a marriage counselor. And because I
Mhm.
was her daughter was my friend, that kind of a thing, that it was somebody I
Yeah,
knew. But these are people
yeah.
I didn't know, who they are not
Hmm.
even from where I come from. They're not even from
Yeah.
Zimbabwe.
Hmm.
So there are people I'd never met, which I think was really good, because I didn't feel I was being judged.
Yeah.
It's always good to have somebody you don't know, you don't relate to, to be your counselor, because that's where you heal better. Why I'm saying that? Because there are some things you would never reveal to a person who's close to you. And imagine that person being your counselor. I have friends, I would say no, I would refer them to someone else. I would not want to cancel my friend, because I know they will
Yeah.
not properly heal, but the things they would not reveal to
Yeah.
me, not because I would judge them, but maybe because we are friends, or we know
Yeah.
each other. So I had those people. I was introduced by, church, and or just knowing people around here. So I then got to meet the people that counseled me, that mentored me. But you can find, like here in the UK, if you go online,
Hmm.
there's so
Yeah.
many. It depends what type of counseling you want. It depends on what type of counseling you want. If you go there, look for counseling services. They have counselors there. If you want Christian therapists, like I'm a Christian therapist,
Yeah.
you can also reach out to people like me. I'm a Christian therapist,
Absolutely.
so my counseling is based as well. All my techniques are also based. I involve the Word of God, so because of my background, that's what I do. But if you don't want anything like that, there are some. Find them online. They're there. Just go look for counseling services. You'll find plenty. It just depends on an individual. What do they really want? What type of counseling do they want, or coaching do they want?
Right. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what does healing look like to you, Adelaide? When you got to a stage whereby you felt like, you know what, I think now I can say that I'm healed. Not maybe completely healed, but you would now feel that, you know what, now I think I can say that I am healed or healing. What did that look like, or what does that actually look like?
Um, Healing to me looked like I was able to open my heart to love again. Um, I now trusted more, because when I was going through that, I didn't trust any man, or you understand, it becomes really hard.
Yeah,
But I realized I started trusting. I was now
yeah,
open to love. I was not going for my goals. I was happier. I was able
mm,
to wake up, dress up, take myself out for dinner by myself. So that's
mm,
self love. You start having that self love. I would wake up, dress up,
yeah,
just to say, oh, I just want to go for a cup of coffee. I don't need anybody. I had that strength now to do this. Then I knew that, oh wow, I'm really becoming myself. I was now able to speak, because before I would just hide myself in a corner. I started speaking, I started coming out
mm,
more, and then realized that even those things that were triggers before didn't bother me
yeah,
at all. Even when I see my ex, it doesn't bother me at
mm,
all. I can even wave at them.
yeah,
Them doesn't bother me at all. So that's when I knew that I had the healing had actually started working. I was healing, and that's how it worked for me. So when you know now you have that self love, you are confident about who you are. You're now open to love. You're not being judgmental about, oh man, you have trust again. You are healing.
awesome, awesome. I mean, that's just proof that no matter what happens in life, there's always something or someone out there for you.
Yeah,
And I'm glad you have
yeah.
shared that. And on a closing note, if there's a man or a woman out there that is currently going through what you had to go through, or is finding it difficult to come to terms with that same situation, similar situation, or they are just losing hope, they're losing hope, they don't see a way out of the heartbreak, the pain, the struggle, what can you share with them today? What is it that you are going to leave with them today?
Okay, so to that person out there that feels they are broken, they are in pain, they are going through trauma, they feel they are left behind. I want you to know that you are not behind at all. You are just in that season where you are being prepared for what is to come. God is going to turn that pain into purpose. He's going to turn that time of testing that you are going through, the challenge you're going through, into a testimony. This is just the beginning of transformation. Every good thing comes from pain. I want you to think of how they make gold. If you've ever gone to a place where they make gold, or if you've ever studied how they make gold, you know how gold always goes through the heat. They remove
Mm,
it, they bang it, they
mm,
take it into it
yeah,
goes through a lot of refining the process. Imagine that is
totally.
you. You are being put into the fire. That is your challenge, your
Mm,
trauma, the pain that you're going through. But I want you to understand that what is happening is that's your season of trial, your season of pain. God
mm,
is just refreshing you. He's just aligning you to becoming the person He wants you to be. He's transforming you. It's your time of transformation. So don't lose hope. You may not see the progress yet. You may be feeling you're forgotten. You may be feeling
mm,
I'm not worthy, I'm unworthy. But listen,
mm,
God is actually working in those dark places. He is healing that broken piece that is hidden deep down inside of you. He is preparing you a future that looks nothing like your past. That is what is happening. So I just want to encourage you that remember that one day you will rise again. Soon you will
Yeah.
heal again, love
Yeah.
again, and your story, just like my story, will make sense in God's time.
Amen to
Thank you.
that, sis. Amen. Wow, wow, wow. You've heard it all. You've heard it all. You've heard her journey, where she started, how she had to maneuver everything. And now you've heard her say it by herself that now she can clearly say that she's healed because she had to allow herself to go through the pruning process. And if you allow yourself to go through the process and and not allow the process to break you, you'll be able to come out from the other side. So if you've loved what the conversation that I've had with Adelaide, I would love for you to follow her and support her. Adelaide, let us know, where can people find you and how do you currently work with people at the moment? Let us know.
Okay, so you can find me on Facebook, Adelaide Adeyemi. You can find me on Instagram as well, Adelaide Adeyemi. Or you can contact me on my email, is renewedresiliencecoaching@gmail.com. Or you can either send me a WhatsApp message on my number, which is 074 5007 4105. And bookings for my coaching, you first have to contact me, and then we first have a discovery chat. So we plan that when we have a WhatsApp call and we talk, and then we see how we can work together. Yeah.
Thank you, Adelaide. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us and share your story. And I know that's not easy to, share your story with the public. I want to say thank you so much. And if you've enjoyed the conversation I've had with Adelaide and you want to know where you can find her, I'll leave her details in the comment section. And for her telephone number to catch you on WhatsApp, she is in the UK, so that will be +44. So thank you so much, Adelaide. We really appreciate having you here today. And I hope most of my viewers will get in touch with you. Thank you so much. And for everyone else, thank you
Thank you.
for joining us at Moments of a Breakthrough Moment with Sandy. And if you've enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to like this video, share it with a friend who needs to hear this, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can stay in the loop with what is coming up next, so you do not get to miss out on any of the conversations that we will be having on this platform. So for now, we are checking out. Thank you. Do take care and stay blessed. Bye bye.